The tension surrounding Devon Winters and Abby Winters had been building for days, but Tuesday brought a weight neither of them had fully prepared for. The morning began quietly enough, but that calm didn't last long. There was something in the air, an uneasiness that settled between them before a single word was spoken. They both knew that Dominic's situation was far from resolved, yet neither expected the kind of update they were about to receive. Across town, Tessa Porter sat in silence, her thoughts tangled in a storm of emotion. Mariah Copeland's departure for psychiatric treatment loomed closer with every passing hour, and the reality of it pressed heavily on Tessa's chest. This wasn't just another separation, it felt deeper, more uncertain. Mariah wasn't simply leaving, she was stepping into something unknown, something that neither of them could fully control. Tessa's gaze drifted toward a photo of their daughter, Aria Porter Copeland. The little girl's smile radiated innocence, untouched by the chaos swirling around her family. That innocence was precisely what made Tessa hesitate. Should Aria see Mariah before she left? Would that moment bring comfort or confusion? The question refused to let go. Part of Tessa feared that seeing Aria might destabilize Mariah even more. Mariah had already been through so much, her grip on reality slipping in ways that frightened everyone who loved her. Introducing Aria into that fragile emotional state could complicate things. Tessa worried that Mariah might cling too tightly, or worse, that Aria might sense something was wrong and carry that confusion with her. But another part of Tessa, a louder, more hopeful part, believed the opposite. Maybe seeing Aria would ground Mariah. Maybe it would remind her of what truly mattered, of what she was fighting to come back to. The bond between mother and daughter was powerful, and Tessa couldn't ignore the possibility that it might be exactly what Mariah needed. Tessa exhaled slowly, trying to steady herself. She wanted to fix everything, to make the right choice, but there was no clear answer. All she knew was that she wasn't ready to give up on her family, not now, not ever. Meanwhile, Devon and Abby sat across from Dominic's therapist, bracing themselves for news. The therapist's expression alone was enough to signal that this wasn't going to be an easy conversation. Devon felt his stomach tighten, while Abby instinctively reached for his hand. "What is it?" Abby asked, her voice edged with concern. The therapist didn't sugarcoat it. Dominic's emotional response to his abduction was more severe than initially believed. While he hadn't outwardly displayed signs of trauma right away, deeper evaluations revealed lingering effects, subtle but significant. His behavior patterns, his reactions, even his attachment responses were all being impacted. Abby's breath caught, "But he's so young." "That doesn't mean he wasn't affected," the therapist gently explained. "Children process trauma differently. Sometimes it surfaces later in ways that aren't immediately obvious." Devon's jaw tightened. The idea that Dominic had been silently struggling hit him hard. He prided himself on being present, on protecting his son, yet here was proof that something had slipped through the cracks. "What do we do?" Devon asked, his voice steady but heavy. "We continue therapy," the therapist replied. "Consistency, support, and patience will be key. He's resilient, but he needs both of you to be fully engaged in helping him process what happened." Abby nodded, though her mind raced. She had already blamed herself more times than she could count. Hearing this only intensified that guilt. If Dominic was suffering, then somewhere along the way she had failed him, or at least that's how it felt. As they left the session, neither spoke for a moment. The weight of the news lingered between them, unspoken yet overwhelming. But the day wasn't done with them yet. The second blow came quickly, leaving little time to process the first. News spread that Mariah would not be facing jail time for the kidnapping. Instead, she would receive probation along with mandatory psychiatric treatment. Abby stopped in her tracks when she heard, "You've got to be kidding me." Devon's reaction was just as intense, though quieter. His eyes darkened as he absorbed the information. After everything, that's it. To them, it felt like a slap in the face. Dominic had been taken, ripped from their lives in the most terrifying way possible, and yet the person responsible would walk away without real punishment. "I don't understand how this is justice," Abby said, her voice shaking with frustration. "She kidnapped our son, Devon, our son." Devon ran a hand through his hair, struggling to keep his composure. "I get that she needs help, but this feels like she's getting off easy." The anger simmered, fueled by their protective instincts as parents. They weren't blind to Mariah's struggles, but the pain of what she had done overshadowed any sympathy they might have felt. At the same time, Tessa found herself standing at a crossroads. The decision about Aria couldn't be postponed any longer. Mariah's departure was imminent, and whatever choice Tessa made would carry lasting consequences. She closed her eyes, imagining both outcomes. Aria laughing in Mariah's arms, offering a moment of peace, or Aria pulling away, sensing something was off, leaving Mariah even more broken. "Why is this so hard?" Tessa whispered to herself. Because it mattered, because everything about this situation mattered. Her love for Mariah hadn't disappeared, it had been tested, shaken, but not destroyed. Tessa still believed in them, in the life they had built together. She wanted to rebuild, to heal, to give their family another chance. And maybe, just maybe, this moment could be the first step. As she reached for her phone, her heart pounded. Whatever she decided, there would be no turning back. Across town, another conflict brewed, one that had been building between Claire Newman and Kyle Abbott. Their relationship had always been layered with complexity, but recent events had pushed them into opposing corners. Claire couldn't shake her disappointment in Victor Newman. His decision to abduct Jack Abbott had crossed a line she couldn't ignore. It wasn't just about family loyalty, it was about right and wrong. "I don't care what his reasons were," Claire insisted. "What he did was unacceptable." Kyle, however, saw things differently. His loyalty to his father ran deep, and what had happened to Jack only strengthened his resolve. "Victor set this whole thing in motion," Kyle argued. "He drugged my dad and put him in that situation. You can't just brush that off." Claire sighed, frustration creeping into her voice. "I'm not brushing it off, I just don't think escalating things is the answer." Kyle shook his head. "Maybe not, but letting it go isn't either. My dad deserves justice." Their perspectives clashed, neither willing to back down. For Claire, the idea of endless retaliation felt exhausting. For Kyle, it felt necessary. And so, the divide between them grew. As the day unfolded, emotions ran high across Genoa City. Decisions were being made, lines were being drawn, and relationships were being tested in ways no one could have predicted. For Tessa, the moment of truth arrived when she finally stood face to face with Mariah. The room felt smaller somehow, charged with everything left unsaid between them. "I don't know what the right thing is," Tessa admitted softly. Mariah's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't look away. "Neither do I." Tessa hesitated before continuing, "But I do know that I still believe in us, and I want to try for Aria, for our family." Mariah's breath hitched, hope flickering in her expression. And then came the question that would change everything. "Do you want to see her before you go?" Mariah didn't answer right away. The question hung in the air, fragile and powerful all at once. Her eyes darted downward, her hands trembling slightly as she tried to process what Tessa was offering. "Of course I do," Mariah finally said, her voice breaking. "She's my daughter. I think about her every second." Tessa watched her carefully, searching for signs, clarity, stability, something to reassure her that this was the right decision. Mariah looked exhausted, emotionally drained, but there was also something genuine in her expression, a longing that couldn't be faked. I don't want to make things harder," Mariah continued. "For you, for Aria, I've already done enough damage." Tessa's heart ached at those words. Despite everything, she could still see the woman she fell in love with, the woman who would do anything for their family. "This isn't about the past," Tessa said gently, "it's about what comes next." Mariah swallowed hard. "And what if I mess that up too?" "Then we deal with it," Tessa replied, her voice firm but compassionate. "Together." That word "together" carried weight. It wasn't a promise of perfection, but it was a promise of effort, of not giving up. Mariah nodded slowly, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I want to see her, more than anything." Tessa took a deep breath, the decision settling into place. There was no guarantee this would go smoothly, but she couldn't deny Mariah this moment, not when it might be the very thing that helped her hold on. When Arya was brought into the room, the atmosphere shifted instantly. The tension, the fear, the uncertainty, all of it softened in the presence of the little girl. Mariah's face crumpled as she saw her daughter. "Hey, baby." Arya looked at her for a moment, curious but calm. Then, as if recognizing something familiar, she reached out. That single gesture broke whatever walls Mariah had left. She gathered Arya into her arms, holding her close as if she could memorize the feeling. "I love you so much," Mariah whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Tessa watched quietly, her own eyes filling with tears. This was what she had hoped for, not chaos, not confusion, but connection, pure and undeniable. For a moment, everything felt right. But reality lingered just outside that moment. Across town, Devon and Abby continued to wrestle with their anger. The news about Mariah's sentence hadn't sat well with either of them, and it showed in every word they exchanged. "She should be in prison," Abby insisted, packing the room. "How is probation enough for something like this?" Devon leaned against the desk, arms crossed. "It's not, but the court sees it differently." "That doesn't make it right." "No, it doesn't," Devon agreed, "but we don't get to change it." Abby stopped, her frustration boiling over. "So we're just supposed to accept it, pretend like everything's fine." Devon's expression softened slightly. "No, but we focus on what we can control, Dom, his recovery, our family." Abby sighed, the fight draining out of her. She knew he was right, but that didn't make it easier. The sense of injustice lingered, refusing to fade. Meanwhile, Claire and Kyle's disagreement reached a turning point. What started as a difference in opinion had evolved into something deeper, a fundamental clash in how they viewed loyalty and accountability. "I can't support revenge," Claire said, her tone resolute. "It just leads to more damage." "And I can't support letting someone get away with what Victor did," Kyle shot back. "There has to be consequences." Claire shook her head. "You're so focused on payback that you're not seeing the bigger picture. And you're so focused on keeping the peace that you're ignoring what's right in front of you." The silence that followed was heavy. Neither of them wanted to admit it, but this wasn't just about Victor and Jack anymore. It was about them, about whether their values could truly align. Back with Tessa and Mariah, the visit came to an end all too quickly. Time, as it often did in moments like this, felt both too fast and too slow. Mariah held Arya one last time before reluctantly letting go. "Be good for your mama," she whispered, pressing a kiss to her forehead. As Arya was carried out, Mariah's composure cracked. The strength she had held onto slipped, leaving behind raw emotion. "I don't know how I'm going to get through this," she admitted. Tessa stepped closer, placing a hand over Mariah's, "One day at a time." Mariah looked up at her, searching for something, hope, reassurance, anything to hold onto. "Will you be there?" she asked. Tessa didn't hesitate. "Yes, I will." It wasn't a promise that everything would be okay, but it was a promise that Mariah wouldn't be alone. As Mariah prepared to leave for treatment, the weight of her journey ahead became clear. It wouldn't be easy. There would be setbacks, doubts, moments where giving up felt easier than pushing forward. But now she had something to hold onto. A reason to fight. A reason to come back. Across Genoa City, the ripple effects of these decisions continued to unfold. Relationships strained, emotions collided, and the path forward remained uncertain. Yet within all the chaos, there were small moments of clarity, choices made not out of fear but out of hope. And sometimes that was enough to begin again. If you enjoy Y&R spoilers, updates, and daily drama, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos.